One mistake I see people making too frequently is selecting the wrong lawyer for their business. I have lost count of the number of people who have come to me very sad and unhappy with their previous lawyer. And often in my situation, because I do intellectual property and commercial law, it will be somebody who needed an IP specialist, went to a general lawyer and found out that they couldn't help. The worst example I came across of this was a client of mine, Carly, who went to a general commercial lawyer about some designs that she was creating, and then she had a friend involved in the business as well. And she said to the general lawyer, what should I do about the intellectual property ownership of these designs? Now, Carly had spent 20 years as a travel agent, well, not a travel agent, a flight attendant on aeroplanes, and she was obsessed with luggage. And what Carly had done is that every time she saw a piece of luggage or a handbag or something, luggage related that she liked or that was causing a problem that she didn't like, she would make a note. So she ended up, after 20 years, she had this notebook full of fantastic ideas and things to avoid. So she actually, from this, she was able to come up with some incredible luggage designs. And so her friend was the artist and the friend was drawing the images. The advice that Carly got from somebody who knew nothing about intellectual property was, don't worry about intellectual property ownership issues until you're making a profit. And so she didn't. The year later, fast forward to a year later, they were starting to sell some of the products, and Carly's friend bumped into an IP lawyer at a barbecue. The IP lawyer was asking, what is she? Carly's friends, bumped into the IP lawyer. And the friend's new friend from the barbecue said to her, oh, you might own the IP in those designs that you drew for your friend, even though Carly was the one who said, put the zip here, make it this long, put that clasp there. She'd basically had the idea in her mind, she just didn't know how to draw it. Anyway, it was a complete disaster. The friend ended up suing Carly. I suggested to Carly that she just drop the whole thing. I was very concerned about the amount of money that it was going to cost to defend. I said to her, you're so creative, you can create another 20 designs without even blinking. Just let her have whatever has already been created, even though you probably are the proper true owner, although it was a bit murky because of the relationship they'd had and the way they'd set up things, and Carly hadn't paid her. She'd done it as a favor. So it was quite complicated. Anyway, Carly decided, no, she spent 20 years planning this. She is not going to give it up. And then what happened? She got sued. She spent too much money on the legal fees. She ended up very distracted from her business, so she didn't fill the orders that she was supposed to fill. She ended up owing suppliers, and then she couldn't pay. She ended up having to drop the court case halfway through and forfeit the case anyway, so she lost the case. And then because she couldn't pay her suppliers because she had spent so much time and stress and focus on the court case, she ended up going bankrupt. And she lost her house, and she lost her friend. So that is the worst example that I've seen, but I've seen other examples as well. Just this year, a client came to us. She had a potential trademark dispute brewing, and she wanted to know whether or not she could use a particular name. She'd been a distributor, and now she was branching out on her own, and she wanted to avoid at all costs a problem with the previous supplier. So she wanted to know this new name that she'd come up with, was it acceptable or was it going to lead to a problem? And she went to her divorce lawyer because that was the only lawyer she knew. And she said to the divorce lawyer, what should I do? Is this name different? And I can't tell you what the name is because of confidentiality, but basically what she had done, the name had two words. So let's make something up. So for example, if it was Blue Zoo, Carly decided, it wasn't Carly, it was the other client, decided Lucy decided she wanted to go with Zoo Blue, so she inverted the two words. When she came to our office, she spoke with my business partner, who's my husband, and within 2 seconds he said, no, it's too similar. And she went, but my lawyer said it was fine. Because now, further down the track now, 6 months down the track, she's got a letter of demand from her previous supplier suing her for trademark infringement. So my business partner called me and said, oh, could you just give me a second opinion? I've got this client and sitting here, and I'm confident with what I've said, but she's already had an opinion from another lawyer, and she's not sure about what I'm telling her. So I had a look at it and I said, no, that's so obviously going to be a trademark infringement. You cannot use that. And she said, oh, but my lawyer said I could. And I said, well, is your lawyer an IP expert? And she said, no, he's my divorce lawyer. So the lesson from all of that is, number one, make sure that the lawyer that you choose has a speciality in what you're doing. Now, I know that sometimes lawyers will do a little bit of something. And so they might have done a little bit of tax, but they're not a tax lawyer. And so the question to ask, and it's perfectly acceptable and quite sensible to interview your lawyer before you decide to go and see them. Find out what experience they've got. So, for example, if you were coming to me and you said, I've got a question about tax, well, I would immediately say no, I don't do tax. But if you went to a general lawyer who does everything, remember you're getting a generalist, not a specialist. They're not going to be able to help you generally when things go wrong unless they've got that experience. So find out what they're experienced in. And when it comes to, I'll use IP as an example, how many trademarks have they actually registered? How many trademarks have they been up in court defending? And how many of those cases did they win? I had a client who took things to a lawyer who was a general commercial lawyer who did some trademark work, and they were perfectly capable when things didn't go wrong. But if something went wrong, then they found it quite tricky. And so if you're looking for a specialist, make sure you've got a real specialist. For example, in my 20 years, I've got registration of over 1,000 trademarks. And so it's the depth of experience that you're looking for. But not only that, is the person you're going to the kind of person that you can connect with personally, the style that you communicate, and just the level of, I don't know how to say this, how are you going to connect with them? So I'll give you an example. It's the easiest way. A client of mine who went to a lawyer who charged her $3,000 for a privacy policy that her business didn't actually need because she didn't meet the criteria. She fired that lawyer, not because of that. She didn't know about that issue. But she fired that lawyer because when she spoke to them, they didn't really take her business seriously. They didn't understand what her business was. She's a doula. And for those of you who don't know what a doula is, they help women when they're having a baby. So they help you when you're pregnant, during the labor, and after the labor. They're not a midwife, although some of what they do does overlap with what a midwife does. They provide more long-term emotional support. And anyway, so my client, who's a doula, when she came to me, she said, I fired my other lawyer because he didn't even know what a doula was. And he did my terms and conditions. How can anybody draft terms and conditions with how you work with your clients if they don't understand your business? Are they just going to give you a standard form terms and conditions? Because if they are, you might as well just download them off the internet. Not that I think standard form terms and conditions are the best way to go. I think there's a lot of potential problems with them. But this is what you need to ask. And yes, lawyers will work from precedents. They will work from documents that have worked before. And I do that as well. I take parts of documents that I've used before because that's sensible. If you know that you've got a dispute resolution clause that's worked well in the past, you use it in the future. But that your entire document shouldn't be just one big template. Because I see the the terms and conditions as a way to connect with your clients actually, and to tell your clients something about you. So find out how the lawyer works. Also, how do they communicate? Are they going to charge you $300 every time you need to speak to them on the phone? Can you send them emails that they'll reply to? Is that included in the cost? Or are they going to charge you $300 for every email? So the way that I work, for example, is I like to do an all-inclusive cost where I can. In most cases, I can do that. And then within that case, the client knows that they can ring me anytime on that case. They can send me emails anytime on that case, up to a certain point. If it gets to the point where I've answered those questions, I'll say, go back and read that first email I sent you. I have answered those questions right at the beginning. But it's really important to know that you can really work with and trust that lawyer that you're engaging. Some people prefer a lawyer who's not going to be that much involved and interested in their business. They just want a cold clinical approach, and the lawyer just gets it done. So it depends on what your personality is. I like to know what my clients are doing. I like to go on their websites. I watch their videos. I get a little bit involved. I find out what their personality is like, those kinds of things. Whereas some people, they prefer more of a distant, traditional legal approach. And that's fine. Whatever's going to suit you is what you need to go with. And in a way, it's almost like choosing a business mentor. What would you think about when you chose a business mentor? What are those qualities in that other person? And that's what you go with. And so, yeah, don't think that when you choose a lawyer, you need to just choose whoever comes along. Shop around. That's absolutely fine. Don't always go with price, though. The most expensive person might not be the best fit for your particular problem or your particular business. And yeah, find out how they like to communicate. Some people prefer always phone calls. Some people prefer always emails. And it makes a difference. And also find out how busy they are. How quickly can they do what you need done? And one of the other important things is, I find it's better to have a relationship with a lawyer, or, know them a little bit, so that if things go wrong or if you need help, then you can easily contact them and they will be able to go for you. And I think about it like this. When you're traveling, if you're in a foreign country or even a different city and you get a toothache, it's kind of tricky. You don't know which dentist to go to. You don't know who's going to be good, who's going to not cause you too much pain, who's not going to, charge you too much money. But if you have a dental problem when you're at home, which happened to me a couple of weeks ago, I rang up my dentist, a reception, her name's also Cathryn, and I said, Cathryn, I've got a tooth, it's killing me. She said, we'll open up an appointment. Can you be here within 2 hours? Absolutely. So the benefit of getting to know somebody who can be your lawyer later is it cannot be underestimated, because if you do have an emergency, then they'll be there for you. So those are a whole lot of things that you need to think about when choosing the lawyer for you. Personality, communication, field, so tax or whatever, what their speciality is, availability, and getting that connection before things go wrong. So this is Cathryn Warburton, the Legal Lioness. All the best with choosing the best lawyer for your business, which might not be the same lawyer as somebody else you know.